Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and we've got kind of a potpourri today. It smells like potpourri in here because I've got loose graded, I've got a baggie, I've got a couple of bootlegs, and then I've got some vintage mint on cards that I wanted to run through. All of these sold fairly recently on eBay, most of them in auctions. As always, thanks to my Patreon supporters. They get my videos 24 hours, early access. Action Figure Grader on patreon.com is where you can find me. Let's go and take a closer look. First, we've got a mail away. I had this one in my what to buy video, and it sold before I could even release the video. So unfortunately, it did sell. Hopefully one of y'all were able to pick this up. This is the SWD mail away baggie for Boba Fett. So this is kind of the first Boba Fett baggie, always pretty desirable. This one was in pretty mint condition as well. Very nice shape overall. That one was listed for $500, and a best offer was accepted. I tried to look up what the best offer accepted was on 130point.com, but it will not show up for some reason. I'm guessing it probably sold in that $400 to $450 range. In an auction, I've seen them go in an auction for under $400, but they were not nearly as clean as this one. They all, they might have had some issues with the writing, the made in Hong Kong in black lettering that you see on this one. That's in very clean shape. I've seen them go again for under 400, but I think that this was a particularly nice condition baggie, so I could see paying maybe up to $450 for it. And I'll be honest with you, it was on my watch list for myself. I wouldn't mind picking up one of these at some point soon. So that was very nice. But anyway, I don't know what the final sales price was on that one because it's not showing up for some reason. I've got some loose graded. We've got a UKG 90% Orange Snake Yoda that sold in an auction for $203.50. This was in Sweden. I would argue that this is probably overgraded. And I was talking offline to my friend Dustin B about this one. You can see very clearly on his hand there that it's got some kind of factory paint defect on his hand. I don't know what that is. So I'm not sure why this one got a 90 grade. In my opinion, it's overgraded, and it's okay. It's fine. I mean, it is what it is, but the figure got a 90. There was straight 90s for all the sub scores. I would say this is more like an 85 at best, but whatever. You got it for $203 US. And if you were in the Europe, I'm sure the shipping was less than $30, which is what it was to ship it over here. So if you got it for like $210, $220, not a terrible deal at all. Here was a blue lightsaber snap cape Hong Kong Luke Jedi. This one was a UKG 85%. You can see some rubs on his cheek there. So again, probably at the upper end of an 85. I mean, we do talk about the comparison between all the grading companies. None of them are perfect. They all have their issues. And I'm not trying to disparage this item whatsoever. This is a beautiful, beautiful figure. Tougher to find snap cape, tougher to find blue lightsaber. So to me, to get it for $209.50, that's a pretty good deal. No matter what the grade is, whether it's an 80 or an 85, I think it's very fair to pay that for a blue lightsaber Luke Jedi, just given alone that the blue lightsaber can go for what, $150 sometimes. So I thought that was a pretty good deal there. Next up was the molded face snap cape made in Taiwan Luke Jedi. And this is one I do have in my collection. I've got the molded face AFA 85, and mine only has the sewn cape. It does not have the snap cape like this one does. And again, I don't know if they're mixing and matching accessories. I assume there is a snap cape molded face for the Luke Jedi because that was something that was asked when I was showing off mine that I picked up on Certified Link a few months back. And people were asking, is it the snap cape or the sewn cape? And I think mine is the sewn cape. It's kind of hard to tell because AFA puts the cape behind the figure. UKG puts it in front of the figure. CAS puts it on a cape stand next to the figure. So there's all kinds of different mounting kind of options for the different figures based on the grading company. But this was graded UKG 85%. Very nice figure. That one sold for $305, which I think is about right. My AFA 85, I think I paid around $330, $340, somewhere in that ballpark. So $305, I thought that was very fair relative to what I paid. Here was a Taiwan UKG 85% Boba Fett. Now, unlike some of the other figures that we've talked about, this one I think is truly an 85. It had one little dot, some kind of paint overspray or splash on his forehead right there. But really, the rest of the figure was pretty mint. I mean, that is a very nice example. There's also a little paint defect on the yellow. You can see a little yellow dot right there. But I mean, you know, you're nitpicking on this. I think this would get an 85 with any of the grading companies. It's a very, very clean example. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think to me, it looks like an 85. That one sold for $169.50. That's a really good deal. AFA 85s for the Taiwan FET usually go $225 to $250. CAS 85s can probably set you back about the same price, $175-ish. So that to me is a pretty good deal there. Speaking of Taiwan FETs, this one sold, and I was a little low on my estimate, I guess, but this one was an AFA 85. Now, this one was sold by CIB, and we've talked about this in other videos, how they tend to command a little more money than other sellers. Visa, you know, if you took this exact item and got rid of these beautiful high-res photos that AFA provides in their auctions, now, and then you tried to take good photos yourself, I don't think you get $300. I really don't. They usually sell $250 to $275 in that ballpark. But when CIB lists them, I mean, these photos are really nice. And looking at it, it was a pretty clean example of... Now, look, there's something going on right here on his knee, and it looks like it might be in the case versus, you know, it could be on the case, it could be on the figure and the case, I don't know. But clearly it has the similar defect to what the UKG 85% got. So I think that supports my argument that that one would have gotten the 85 as well from, you know, one of the other grading companies. Again, I'm nitpicking here. It's a gorgeous figure. That one sold for $300. So again, you know, it gives you a rough price range, right? Anywhere from $175 to $300, depending on who's grading it and who's selling it as well. I think that's an important factor that plays into it. Next up was the plain lapel version of Han Solo in his trench coat, AFA 85. That one sold for $160 in an auction. Very good deal there. I was used to kind of like $200 for an AFA 85, so that one's come back down to earth a little bit. I'd pay up to $200 personally for the camo lapel. That's one I don't have. I have it in a baggy AFA 85, but I don't have it just kind of loose graded to match my plain lapel. So that's something I'll keep an eye on casually to match that one. It's a little tougher to find, I feel like, than the plain lapel, but that's just my own experience searching for one. AFA 85 Imperial Dignitary, and I always zoom in on him to see if he's got any nose rub. It looks like he does not. It looks very, very clean. And that one sold for $177. I'm always used to like $220 to $240 for an AFA 85 Imperial Dignitary. So some of the more common items are coming down, and you know, that's something that is not a shocker or, you know, a big revelation. We've talked about that at length, but usually last 17 have been a little bit more insulated from some of the price declines that we've seen for loose graded figures. But even the common last 17, like the Imperial Dignitary, they've come back down a little bit. So I would argue 177.75 is a little lower than what I'm used to. This one was a beauty. This was an AFA 90 Jan Tosh from the Droids line. Brand new case style. And you can see the label there. Jan Tosh, no COO, which all of them are, to my knowledge. AFA 90. So very, very high grade. And, you know, again, someone's willing to pay basically mint on card prices for high grade figures. And I don't think that's, again, a big revelation. AFA 90s, 90 pluses, 95s even. They're out there and you're going to pay a big number for them. But that one did sell for $400. Beautiful figure. Now let's dig into some mint on cards. We've got Wheeljack's Lab. They had this one, which was a Luke Skywalker 12-back B. And it wasn't perfect. I mean, there was something going on the blister there. I don't know if that's just reflections, which it very well may be. It did have a big ding on the blister, but it is crystal clear. Punched example, no price sticker. There was also some spider veins in the upper right-hand corner. Back of the card was very clean, though. I thought this was a nice example. Probably overall a 75 plus if I had to give you a round estimate on the grade for this one. That one sold for $1,400, about right. They also did have this one. This was a beautiful 31 back A debut card for the Hoth Imperial Stormtrooper. Beautiful, beautiful example there. Unpunched with a Montgomery Ward price sticker. This is going to nerd alert, okay? But I swear this is true. A couple of weeks ago, I had a dream where I was in a Montgomery, it was either a Montgomery Ward or a J.C. Penney. It could have been a Woolworths, something like that. But I walked in and it was just, and I was my age, right? So 47 years old, and I was walking in, and some of these companies, or none of these companies exist anymore. But anyway, I walked in and it was like what you see in some of the photos on Instagram, where it was just walls and walls of vintage Kenner items, all for sale for like $250 each. And I was just like, oh, I'm in heaven. And I was getting like a shopping cart, and I started loading my bags, and then I woke up. So I don't know what that tells you about me. To me, it tells me that I'm a loser. Okay, that's what it tells me, that I'm having dreams about going into a vintage department store that doesn't exist anymore at my age and buying them at 1981 prices. I love telling on myself and how much of a dork I am. But anyway, this 31 back A did sell for $561.01 on 6 bids. That was a beauty, though. That was really nice. Now, you could argue maybe that it's got some yellowing going on. I don't think it does, personally. I think it looks like a clear blister to me. Here's the side profile there. It looks crystal clear to me. I think, you know, some of the things I'm seeing on the bottom of the blister are just shadows there. But that is a stunner. And again, debut card, $561. That's the price I'd pay. You know, to me, I think this probably gets an 80 grade. There's some scuffing on the back of the card. You can see right here at the upper left, there's scuffing. I think that holds it to an overall 80 pretty easily. So still, $561 for a Stormtrooper, Hull Stormtrooper. That's a pretty good deal. This was another good deal. This was picked up by a buddy of mine. This was the Hoth Rebel Soldier on the 31 back B. So you could argue a debut card, 31A and B. And this one was clear blister as well, $276.50. I thought that was a great deal. Really good deal on that. Here was a yellowed blister, 65 back A Cloud Car Pilot. This was unpunched with a Lionel price sticker. Lionel, nice. That one sold for $180. $180, 2 bids on that one. I thought that was very fair for a very lightly yellowed blister. You can find this one. The 65A is easy to find clear blister, actually. Chris over at Rogue 5 Toys just listed one. It was a CAS 80+. I have one, also a CAS 80+. So, and it's clear blister. So you can find this one clear blister. It's not super easy, but it can be done. But this one was lightly yellowed. 180 was a good deal, though. Here was the Tri-Logo AT-ST driver. I had this one in my What to Buy video. This one did sell in an auction. I said aim for under $175. It did sell for $155.50, so that was a good deal. I think that one gets an 80 grade. That was a very, very nice example. Next up was a 77 back Luke Skywalker in his Hoth battle gear. Obviously yellow blister, but this one I think is like a yellowed 80 overall. Unpunched, no price sticker. Blister looked really nice, no cracks. That one sold for $371. So Return of the Jedi Luke Hoths are very pricey, whether they're yellowed blister or clear, especially clear blister. I just find it almost impossible to find a clear blister. You can find them for the 65 backs as well as the tougher to find transition 48 back free Nyan Num or Nyan Num offer. Those can show up in clear blister. Obviously, the Palatoy Return of the Jedis, you can find clear blister as well. Those do pop up every 6 months or so on eBay, but very tough to find. But, even yellow blister, it just shows you there's demand for that one. That was a very, very nice example. This one, I was surprised it went this low. This was the Power of the Force Ben Kenobi. No cracks on the blister that I could see. I think this gets an overall 80. And very nice example. Unpunched, no price sticker. That one sold for $405, which I thought was a very good deal. Here was the AFA 85 punched example of the Imperial Gunner on the Power of the Force card. This was a buy it now, and this seller has a lot of stuff that they always list, and they're down in the UK. They say it did sell for $14.75. That seems like a lot of money for a punched example. Admittedly, it's an AFA 85. But that number seems drastically high to me. But, it is what it is. People will pay what they want to pay for an 85. We're going to round things out with 2 Polish bootlegs. I believe this one is a second generation Stormtrooper for the Polish bootleg. It's got the classic black and white look, which is a little tougher to find. And the second gens came out in like the 1990s. So I think this is a second gen. That one did sell down in Australia for $133 US. And then they also did have this Boba Fett 3rd generation. I just picked one of these up myself. Mine's the darker gray version, which I don't know why I bought it. I already had one of them, but this is the one I really should buy, which is the lighter gray version with the black visor. But this one did sell. It was listed for 750 Australian dollars. The best offer accepted was 675 Australian dollars, which equates to 448 US dollars. Now, I just bought one from the Facebook group, Brandon H. Thank you again, Brandon, for that example. And I think I paid after shipping like $387, somewhere in that ballpark. So I got it for a little bit less than what this one went for, which was 448 US dollars. But that gives you a nice tight price range if you're looking for a Polish bootleg 3rd generation Boba Fett. Very easy to find. They're not terribly hard to find, but I've got mine. Thank you again, Brandon. Mine's already at CAS for loose grading. And, but you know, that gives you a good range, 385 to about 450 or so. That's all I really had for this video. I hope you like this kind of mishmash of different items. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.